James Conlon, the magnificent conductor, was going to come back to conduct the Juilliard Orchestra. And they decided they'd do a collaboration with the dance division. And so Larry Rhodes, the director of dance at Juilliard, asked me to choreograph to a score by Erwin Schuloff. I was excited about the music. The music is very Stravinsky-esque, I would say, in terms of its rhythmic structure and complexity, its urgency, very modern in a way. Now, what's interesting about the score is, it was written in the early 1920s. It was written for a ballet. And I think that's why it works so well with dance, because that's what he had in mind. It was called Ogallala. And Ogallala was an American Indian chief, and it was about him and his sort of protagonist. It has nothing to do with what I was choreographing, but it was interesting to know that a lot of the rhythms he was listening to Native American music. There's not a lot of record of the actual ballet that the score was written for. I heard it before I knew about the ballet. But what's interesting is when I heard it, it immediately sounded like a foreshadowing of what was to become of him in his life, which very much I thought of the war. I thought of that kind of almost like a death march. What's interesting about working this way of having someone present the score and say, can you make a dance to this score, is my first love is music. You know, I started playing piano and singing when I was very little. So music drives me, and so I love the responsibility of finding music. It's also what drives any choreographer crazy too. It's like, have you found any music? It's also the joy of finding something that you love and wanting to express that physically to the audience. So the wonderful thing is, the score was something I would have found on my own if I were looking. But it was interesting that everything that I loved about the score, the rhythmic structure, the intensity, the grandness, by the time I was to step in the studio, all of the things I loved were all of the things that made me afraid to make the dance. The grandness, the bigness of the score, the historical thing. And so a funny tidbit is I was trying to think of ways to get out of it, but eventually I faced it. I mean, I think that's anything that is sometimes that difficult is usually worth it in the end.